What I will say is a dry heat is preferred, at least for me, as opposed to a Houston heat. And I
Yeah.
say that because obviously I don't live in Houston, but every time I go back, it is torrential sweating for me, which I
Yes.
am not accustomed to. And then I have to change 8 times and take like 3 showers and
Yeah.
get that lotion is not really a thing during the summer in Houston because then I end up sweating that off. So I can't. I don't know how it is where you are, but when it is summer, because you're in Australia, obviously it's a little bit winter, so you're all sweatered up when you go outside. But during the summer months, what does that feel like?
It's nice. It's nice. Summer is like temperate. It's not humid. It's not too hot. It's actually really quite nice.
What's the highs? You get
Man, you know
Celsius.
what's funny? People here, the highs will get to like maybe like the low 90s, and people are like, "Oh, this is so hot." And I'm like, "Man, this is great."
That would
I am.
be nice.
Oh, that would be lovely. Yes.
That would
So they're spoiled for weather here. Like it's so in the middle that anything outside of that narrow middle, they just complain. So yeah,
Well, it's the
I
same thing out here. If it was 92, we would be wearing sweaters during the
right, okay.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, yesterday I was driving to therapy and I stopped at a light and there were these two kids. They were walking home from what I'm assuming is high school. And they had jeans and sweaters on, and it's 105 degrees outside. I don't I don't know if that is like I am too old to understand what that is, but it did not compute for me.
I'm confused. I'm very confused.
Yeah, I
105 in jeans. I'm wearing at most long basketball shorts. At most.
well,
Like the
you grew up in basketball shorts, but
ex exactly. Exactly. That's it.
no, I don't know what it is. I see that all the time out here in Phoenix. Now, in California, when I used to live in California, it was always like shorts and a sweater because if you were outside in the afternoons, it's nice and warm for shorts, but then as soon as the sun goes down, it's just a little bit on the chilly side, so you've got your sweater. But here, it's 105 degrees at 10 o'clock at night. So
Oh,
like I don't know why sweaters are still available during the summer. Like,
yeah, man. You don't even need a dryer there. Like you wash your clothes, just put them outside. It'll dry instantly.
well, you might burn a hole in your sweater if you do.
Maybe. Maybe.
No, I'm being very serious. I'm getting a lot of sidetracked here, but we have the what do you the hose, right? We have the little attachment to the hose that allows for you to like decide if you want like shower or direct stream or
Yeah,
mist,
yeah, yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's got like these rubber grips for like comfort or whatnot. But if you leave that out in the sun, it melts.
Nah, dude, no, I can't do it. Like that's way too hot. Like plastic melting outside, no thanks.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They have out here in Arizona, they have you have oven mitts on door handles for restaurants and like grocery stores because a lot of people will reach for those and burn themselves. It's a real thing. Yeah, come on, move on out here. You want
Yeah,
to.
yeah, yeah, for sure, dude. Yeah, for sure. Totally. I'm there. 100%.
All right, guys. So, welcome back to the podcast. Today, we have another fantastic opportunity to have an amazing lifelong friend of mine join us on the podcast to provide some insights on Fathernetics. As we've talked before on many of our other podcast episodes, Fathernetics is really designed to identify the characteristics of fatherhood from our fathers, our father figures, mothers who have had to play the role, our uncles, our coaches, anyone that we may have considered a father figure in our lives, really trying to understand what those characteristics are that we've kind of grabbed onto and the ones we've decided to kind of throw off to the wayside. And then for those of us that are fathers, right? Because fathers are not just those who have kids, there are those who have an influence in someone's life, either directly or indirectly. and in many cases we have kids, right? So we are instilling in our kids the morals that we've learned and decided that we want to continue to pass down from generation to generation. So today we have an amazing guest. I will allow you to introduce yourself. You can keep it to very 5 seconds or 10 seconds, or if you want to go on for an hour introducing yourself, feel free. But go ahead, introduce yourself.
Yeah, my name is Nader. So I grew up with Jamil. He literally grew up 3 doors down from me. And so I'm really, really pleased to be honored to be on the podcast today talking about fathers and Fathernetics. I've got two little girls of my own and trying to navigate fatherhood on a day to day, almost minute by minute basis. So I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, yeah. You're drinking through the fire hose with two. How old are they for our podcast guests?
The eldest is three, the and her little sister is one.
Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah.
So do you think you've learned enough from your 3-year old to say, I know exactly how it's going to go with the 1-year old? Or is the personality already so different? It's like a new chapter.
Yeah, no, they're different. The 3-year-old is a feisty, headstrong little lady, and don't mess with her. Whereas the 1-year-old, she's chill. She's a cool girl. She's down for whatever. It's just like it's almost like I got to be two different dads with one with each one. So, yeah, yeah, it's obviously you got to be the same dad. You've got to be loving and kind and forgiving, but also kind of a disciplinarian with both. But the way you approach both, it's almost like got to be a custom dad for each one.
So what is it like? Okay, so I am a dad of a boy. So I'm often like, okay, how would this be different if I had a girl? And now you have obviously you grew up with a brother, we grew up together, and now you have two daughters. Like how mind-blowing is that to try to adjust to being a dad of two girls?
Yeah, I can't believe it. I honestly sometimes I'll be playing with them or I'm feeding them and I just think I can't believe I've got two daughters. Doesn't even make sense to me. And so yeah, growing up, it was me and my brother, and with you, you have your brother, and your sister. But here, it's just two girls, and so I'm trying to figure that out. I'm trying to be the best dad I can be to these two girls, not knowing anything. I mean, you know this when you first became a dad, you didn't know what you were doing. Heck, I've been a dad for 3 years now. I still don't know what I'm doing. When they're 10, I probably I'm still figuring it out. And there's this great line I remember reading where it's like, kids are growing up, but the parents are growing up too. And so it's like adults, the parents are kind of like kids in that they don't know what they're doing either. And so we're both the children and the parents are growing up together in our own way. And so as much I guess leeway or forgiveness that we have for children and that because they're growing up, they're still learning. I think it's important to have that kind of same mentality for young parents who are still figuring it out too. So we're both parents and children alike are growing up together.
I think you make a very valid point because I think we don't give ourselves as parents enough grace. We make it so hard to forgive ourselves or our spouses for being adamant for going down one path and then realizing, oh, maybe we should, about face and go down a different path. You'll never know until you actually try it, whether it's going to be successful or not to do this one little nuanced thing that you thought was just, so I'm glad that you said that. Kids will always bring out the qualities in you that you thought were resolved. And now all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, I thought I was a patient person. But now with kids, I've realized I have a little bit more runway to go. For example, when me and Jacob, when I wanted kids, I thought I was the most patient person in the world. But
So did I. I thought you were the most patient person in the world.
I mean, he pushes my buttons, and I sometimes I am like I lose my cool, and then I feel bad for when that happens. But it is like you're learning that there are certain things that you really need to dive into a little bit more to understand about yourself to be able to deal with your kid, right? A stable parent often helps to stabilize a child. And I think that that is part and parcel to being a parent. So let's go back, right? Way back.
Okay.
I've met your parents, your dad, who's no longer with us. I've always thought he was a very smart and very intelligible guy. Um, what do you remember the most about your dad being dad for you?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think the first thing that comes to mind is his, his laughter, his smile. He wanted us to be happy. That was the big thing for him. In fact, that's what our last name means in Persian. It means
I will
happy.
say this: your dad smiled a lot more than your mom.
Yeah, yes, yes. He was just a happy guy, and that's what a lot of people remember about him. And so he wanted us to be the same way. But again, there's another side. So he was tough on us at home, and you got to do your homework. You got to get stuff done on time. Don't be late, things like that. And when we were late, when we didn't obey him, when we didn't do things when we were supposed to do them, yeah, he'd get mad at us. We definitely caught the wrong side of him, and so but there's that dynamic as well. And I'm sure all children get the wrong side of their parents sometimes when they disobey, when they don't do the right thing, and we always feel bad about it. But I think as I'd give him an A+ as a dad, mostly because there were many. It was more often than not he was that loving, happy dad who made sure to tell us, "Hey, this is the way you got to live your life." And he was very explicit and verbal about what he wanted out of us. He didn't expect us to figure it out on our own. He would talk to us. He would tell us, this is the way life is. This is the way the world works. And this is how you need to be. But always be happy. Enjoy your life. That's the most important thing. And so that's what I remember.
What do you know about your dad before he was a dad? And I say that because all of us kids, right? We know our parents from the time that they were parents, maybe the
Right.
exact second that they became parents, right? That's all we know
Right.
from the time that we were born. But all parents have a life before their kids. And now we're
Absolutely.
realizing that now as parents
Yes.
having our kids, it's like,
Yes.
who you know me as now, dad, is not who I was before I had you. So for good, bad, or indifferent, right? We're completely different people. So what do you know about your dad before he
Yeah,
became
you
dad?
know what that reminds me of. It's like when you're a kid and you see your teacher outside of school, you're like, wait a minute, you're a person out.
What are you doing here in
Wait,
my
what are you
grocery
doing at the
store?
grocery store? You're supposed to be in school. Like, no, it's Saturday. I'm a person. That's what we
No,
do.
you live in the classroom. That's where you live.
Exactly. That's where you were born, and that's where you'll end, and that's it. That's You're not gonna leave. And so, yeah, my dad, so I mean, he's both my parents are from Iran, and when he was 18, he moved to the United States to go to college, and he ended up going to school in Texas, in West Texas, and then when he finished, he ended up moving back to Iran because in Iran, if you have an American degree back then, it's like you're a big deal. So anybody will give you a job, they'll pay you a ton of money. So he was living the dream, making lots of money over there, and then in 1979, there was the big revolution in Iran, and him and my
The
mom
year
were,
I was born, that makes me feel old.
hey, hey, that's it.
That I
And
appreciate.
so, no, no, so 79, there's that revolution. He's forced to leave, so he's got to go and come to the United States. And first, they end up in Canada for a couple of years, living with his parents, and then they end up in Texas, and that's where me and my brother are born and raised. And so he had a pretty interesting life going from Iran to the U.S., back to Iran, then forced to leave, going to Canada, then ending up in the U.S. So he definitely lived a life and a half before he came here.
So let me ask you this. Now that you're talking about Iran, it comes up. So we'll take a small little detour here. We had an opportunity to kind of all connect when we visited each other, or I visited you and your now wife in Israel, and I thought
Right.
that was such an amazing trip and an opportunity. My job sent me out there for some work stuff, and I got to meet with you and your wife where you were staying in Haifa, and I went down to um, where was I?
You were in Tel Aviv.
Yes, thank you. I was in Tel Aviv. So
Isn't
obviously
that
while
cool?
I had the best time. It was, you know what it is there are a lot of misconceptions about Israel and about going out there and what you may see and what you may experience depending on where you're coming from, right? There are a lot of religious pilgrimages that happens where people are
Yeah.
looking forward to going there. And then I think from the American side, you have a lot of misconceptions about, oh, it's too dangerous. You may never come back, and people get kidnapped and all this. At the time, that was not as prevalent. Today's climate is a lot different. And
Yes.
I know that you guys are not there, but I'm sure you still have ties to the Baha'i Center that's there and some of the work that you guys have done to shore up that community. How do you feel about what's going on there now that you can share
Yeah,
on
it's
the show?
heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. Anytime there's conflict anywhere in the world, especially in a place where you used to live, where you had close friends, where you really grew, yeah, it's a horrible thing. And so I'm just hoping that this all comes to an end as soon as possible. That's just as simple as I can put it. Conflict and war and needless death is the worst thing, and obviously I want it to end ASAP.
So what do you tell your kids when you explain war to them? And this comes not just specific to what's happening in Israel, right? So we were in California a couple of months ago, and there was a lot of protests going on out there, the No Kings protests, because Trump was in the middle of trying to do his birthday celebration with the military and all this other stuff. So, of course, I have a 12-year-old. He recognizes all that. He knows about Trump. He knows who he is. He knows a little bit about politics. Obviously, he knows the other side because some of his friends are Trump supporters. So there's always a conversation about, I side with my parents. They don't like Trump. Um, and then his friends, obviously, they side with their parents, so they like Trump. These are kids talking about stuff that they have no clue about, right?
Right, right.
But it always begs a conversation to say, hey, this is how we feel. That doesn't mean you disparage the other side because they feel differently. This is why they're protesting because of democracy. Our democracy usually does not allow for A, B, C, and D. It's a conversation you have to have with your kids. So now instead of the crazy charged conversation that I would have with my friends to say, "Oh my God, I feel bad. This is stupid. Let's talk about this." Whatever. It's more of a prepared tone, right? It's more of a let's talk from a factual perspective. Let's engage on how this impacts our family, our modern family, our LGBTQ family, some of the rights that are being threatened, how this may impact us. So from your perspective, I know your kids are super young,
Yeah.
but there's always conflict in the world. How does that make you feel that now it's something that you have to have a conversation with your kids about? I never thought I would need to do that, to be quite honest.
At this point, obviously they're too young to really understand what's going on in the world, but I know that in the future I'm going to have that conversation with them or conversations with them. And for me, it's really, really important not to uh, try to convince them to think like me. I have my own personal views, my own thoughts, but I want them to come to their own conclusions. So for me, it's important to relay the facts, answer questions as honestly and as objectively as possible. And then, throughout, and then if they ask me, what do you think, Dad? What are your thoughts? I can tell them what I think and why I think the way I do. But, I've always wanted to do this with my kids, and that is to get them to come to their own conclusions. Think for yourself. You are your own person. I am my own person. So, I came to my conclusions on my own. I want you to do the same as well. And so, a lot of people like to indoctrinate their children into thinking a certain way on everything. I'm not into that. Obviously, there's some indoctrination that goes on in raising children, like, hey, you should try to love everyone. That's a kind of indoctrination, right? You're indoctrinating your kids to love all people. That's a good thing, right? That's a good indoctrination or brainwashing, right? But when it comes to the more controversial stuff, it's like, no, this is what it is. These are the facts. You come to your own conclusion. You think about it yourself. You ruminate, think deeply about this stuff, so that you come to a conclusion on your own. You are your own person. And that's something I'm coming to realize more and more as a father. It's like, yeah, I know you're my kid, and I tell you what to do, and what we say, what you and your mother, what me and your mother say goes in this house. But pretty soon it's like, yeah, you're going to have a say as well. You're going to get older. You're going to have your own thoughts and your own opinions, and you'll be able to back them up because I taught you you need to think on your own and back up your own opinions and things like that. So that's really important.
And traditionally speaking, we used to see that be the secondary, if you will, secondary role of going to like university, right? It was more of, hey, we're giving you the foundation. Now you're going off to university or college or whatnot to be able to formulate your opinions on everything that's happening in the world, right? So in high school, during our senior year, our teachers used to tell us, we're preparing you so that you can have civic conversations and general conversations about the things that are happening in the world, and sound at least adequately intelligent enough to ask the questions that lead you to be able to make the conclusions that you need to. And I see that as being something that is very intentional in the LGBTQ culture, because we have an opportunity to build our own community and also try to do it in a way that does not attach a lot of the generalizations that we see coming out of society, right? I'm using air quotes now, society,
Yeah.
which kind of ties into a lot of our adoption journey and a lot of the journey of people that I talk to on a regular basis for Fathernetics. There's always a stigma around gay people adopting kids. Oh, gay people shouldn't have kids because they're sex offenders or something. And it's like, wait, what? Where are you getting that from? Like, who said?
No,
And it's the fear mongering that we see in society that is causing a lot of our modern families to go through challenges and issues when all they want to do is expand their family and create the loving circumstance that they've either had by way of their parents and their fathers, or they want to make sure that their kids have because they didn't have it, right?
you know what's interesting? I think one of the reasons why a lot of people might be against gay people adopting kids is because there's this stupid stereotype that family values are reserved only for uh, religious heterosexuals, God-fearing straight couples. And I mean, look, I grew up with you. I know enough about your parents to know that they instilled strong family values in you and your siblings. Like I remember your dad was, sort of the tough exterior, but could be loving as well, disciplinarian, the karate master. Your mother was this really happy and joyful being, but not the kind of lady you ever want to cross. But ultimately together, I feel like they gave you guys the family values necessary to raise your own families. And it's like, yeah, who cares that it's LGBTQ, whatever. Family values are family values. They're not reserved for any one group of people or the other. And um, you know, whether you're gay or straight or whatever, you still gotta wash the dishes. You still gotta make your bed. You still gotta get to work and school on time. You still gotta put food on the table. There's still gotta be money in the bank. Um, so the what I say is family responsibilities are, agnostic to who you are and where you're from. You still got to get it done. So,
And the
um,
ability to raise a family is kind of the cornerstone as well, because people raise people, right?
right.
I was saying this on another podcast. I was like, only straight couples produce gay people. For
Right.
all of the bluster and the, there's something wrong with you, and I ain't raised. Well, hello, where did they come from? Gay people cannot have kids naturally. So the only way to produce a gay person, which is a genetic way of being, right, is for them to be produced from a straight. So it's a whole different conversation, more philosophical. But what do you think are some of the characteristics that you've gotten from your dad that you said, hey, these are things that I want to emulate or continue to exude as an adult today that may eventually make it to your kids? What do you think some of those are that come to mind?
Yeah. I mean, so again, one of the things is he would talk to us. He did not expect us to figure it out on our own. I remember him some of the most valuable lessons I learned in life I learned from him. And he would talk to me. He would tell me these things. So I want to be very, I guess, communicative with my children as well. Talk to them as much as possible. Really tell them, hey, the world can be a wonderful place, but oftentimes it's not, and you've got to be prepared for that. Um, and so I want to be as communicative and talkative with them as I can. I also want to create a happy environment for them. So uh, those are two big things for me that I got from him: to be explicit, to be sort of talkative with them, and also create a loving and happy environment for them.
It's the good old Australian desert vibes. It's giving you have allergies.
Dude, yeah, this cold is like it's been with me for way too long, and so yeah,
Isn't
sucks.
that adorable? The older we get, is like that one thing that would like keep us down for 5 minutes is now like 3 weeks.
Oh, it sucks. Jamil, it's the worst. It's the worst. I hate it. I got kids too, so I can't be like, yeah, I'm just gonna rest today. Nope. There's no
No, well,
resting.
first of all, wait till your kids start going to school. You'll be sick every other Tuesday. So
Oh,
good luck with that.
no thanks.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can say no thanks. It's coming. It's inevitable. It's part of being the dad. You can't run from it. And then it's like your 3 year old, when she goes to school, you start to get sick every day, and then you finally she grows up and gets out of it. And then here comes your 1 year old is now going back into school, and it's the same cycle. Sorry, I don't mean to scare you.
Pass. Pass.
Oh man, we do that with Jacob. Like he's just started school 2 weeks ago, and I'm looking forward to whatever that means at this point. I'm probably gonna get some sort of cold or something here in the next coming weeks. So
I mean, it's summer there. I can't imagine colds going around.
so it is summer here, but what happens is when you are inside, the air conditioner is set to 50.
Oh,
So you
okay.
go from 50 degrees, which is probably why some of these kids are wearing sweaters, right? So it's really cold on inside to combat it being 108 degrees outside. So as soon as you step out the door, it's such a drastic shift in temperature.
Yeah, it messes
What
you up.
do? You go sit in a car and cool off, or you go into another business and now it's 50 degrees again. So it's yeah,
Yeah.
the body loves it. Oh, I was gonna say one of the qualities that my brother and my sister got from my dad kind of aligns with what your dad did with you guys. There was a lot of like, let's sit down and have just random conversations, and it didn't have to be like let's sit around the table and
Yeah.
have
Right.
it was commercial, and a lottery commercial came on, and my dad would mute the TV during the commercial and go, what would you do if you won the lottery? And
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
oh my God, dad, like I would buy this and that. And he's like, oh, that sounds great. Here's what I would do, and here's why I would do that. And it's like, oh, well, that makes sense. Like, because
That's smart.
that's like not spending my millions of dollars in 2 seconds
Yeah.
and investing it so that I have $10 million over the next 10 years. That makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
So, I mean, those are my dad has asked me that question so many times. Like every time he asked it, it was like, oh, here we go again. Like, okay, how about you ask me when we actually win the lottery? Then we can have that conversation.
Yeah. 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 Let's win the lottery first, then we can discuss.
Yeah, now you're just frustrating me because I did not win the lottery. Thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. So tell me about your journey before you had kids. For Nick and I, obviously through the adoption process, we had the intent, right? So long before we even had the opportunity to have kids, we had that conversation. Do you want to have kids? Are you ready for kids? Here is what we need to do in order to get the kids. A lot of modern families, is what I call them, LGBTQ couples, have to go through so much paperwork in order to have a child. And that's part of the book that I wrote. It's called Paper Cradles, but it talks about that journey and that experience. We have to go through, we have to sign up, we have to take classes, we have to get certified, we have to pass, we have to get a background screening. The
Wow.
state has to come in
Wow.
and do a home inspection. And if you pass, and anybody else in your vicinity, like Nick's mom had to have a background clearance and all this in order to just have a foster kid in your home, not even the kid that you would eventually adopt, just to have a foster kid
Wow.
in your
Wow.
home. I'm not mad at it, but
Because you get it. You get
traditional,
why they
yeah.
want to vet
But
you.
here's the thing: traditional parents don't have to do that,
Right.
right? They just wake up. Well, I say this very flippantly, right? They wake up one morning and you're pregnant. You have a kid. 9 months later, here you go.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Granted, that's not as easy as I just made it seem, but the runway to get there looks a lot different.
Yes.
So
100%.
for you guys, did you have the opportunity to sit down and say, okay, this is potentially what this could look like? Are you ready for that?
Yeah. We when we moved here, we had to first get our lives set up, and then I think we just I don't know, we talked about it, we're like, yeah, we're ready to have children. But that was just the beginning of kind of the hard part because it took us several months to get pregnant. We tried for a while, and it got to a point where, we had to go to doctors and see if everything was okay, and do tests and things like that. And for me, it was jarring because I just thought, hey, you try once or twice and then you're done. You get pregnant. That's the way it works.
The movies, right?
Yeah, just like in the movies, try once, boom. And why do you think people have accidents? Because they just accidentally had a kid. Why is it taking me so long? But finally, I remember it was crazy. We had been trying for months, and then we decided, hey, let's just go have fun. Let's go take a trip somewhere. So we went to this sort of this retreat in nature, into this like it was a kind of like a Hindu retreat where like people are it was kind of a hippy dippy kind of thing where every guest there like helps with cleaning and cooking the meals and things like that. It's like a
Like
cooperative.
like tents out in the middle of the wilderness and everybody's
Yeah, 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 things like that. And we went out there and it was beautiful and we hiked and it was relaxing. It was really good for our souls. At night you actually get to see the stars. The people are wonderful, they're lovely, you connect with them. And I remember like a week later, we found out that we were pregnant and it's like, oh, this is amazing. It was that we were in the perfect environment, and it helped, bring about this child into the world. And we were so both joyful and relieved that finally, like it happened. So, you know, I even think for a lot of couples, like straight couples, it can be difficult because you try for months and months and months, and when it doesn't work, it's frustrating, it's scary. Are we ever going to have children? So on and so forth. So it's like we were just very lucky. We felt very fortunate that it worked out and it happened. And I remember for baby number two, it was like, yeah, it was kind of like 1 or 2 months, and we were pregnant. But that
even
first
for
time, it was,
professionals by then, right?
yeah, exactly. We had experience. I could put that down on my resume. Um,
So let me ask you this because there's a lot of misconception out there, right? When we were trying to get a kid, I was looking for resources and I couldn't find any that were LGBTQ oriented to say that, yeah, maybe these are some of the struggles that you may come across dealing with trying to adopt a child or foster a child being an LGBTQ couple. Um, did you try to find like literature, books, research online? What could this potentially look like? What does parenting look like? What are the gotchas that you should be aware of?
I know that she was sending me, articles or books that I need to read, and I read some of them, of course. But for me, the best resource, honestly, is friends who already had kids, uh,
Mm-hmm.
because they have the experience. They have experience raising children in today's day and age. And so, if I ever wanted any advice, it's like, all right, how is, having children? What are some pitfalls? What is some advice that you can give me? Can you give me some guidance? And so I felt like people that that already have kids, that already have experience in that, they are, for me, the best resources. I mean, there are tons of books, pamphlets, articles out there about parenting, but for me, the people that the people in your community, friends and family that have children, those are the people that I think make the best resources.
So one of the things that we try to emphasize on Fathernetics is the strength of having the right community around us. And I think that as parents, it will always be our role to make sure that we've identified the right people to be around, not just us, right? Because our kids see our friends, they interact with our friends, they get, they hear the conversations that are happening. We think they're not listening, but they're absorbing all of that. And being able to surround our kids with the right audience as well, as far as their friends are concerned. And I say that because obviously Jacob is in school and he has a lot of friends, and they all have opinions, especially about same-sex couples. And why do you have two dads? And does that make sense? And so we have those conversations with him as well to make sure that he understands, how to answer those things, and make sure that he is not necessarily in a let me educate you mode, but certainly not in a defensive mode. Like, why do you have two dads? You don't need to be defensive about that. We just say this is normal. This is why I have two dads. I'm adopted.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
they um
yeah.
they were in a position where they could put me or help me be in a circumstance that was beneficial for my life. They're my parents. That's period. Let's move on. Um, with that in mind, we are still surrounding ourselves with friends who are parents of kids who are either LGBT, or the parents themselves, same sex couples, are friends of ours and they have kids. So it's a community that we're trying to build to say, this is normal. We're not an aberration or some sort of unique pattern in the tapestry of life. And I think that that is going to be helpful. It also helps for advice, like you said before, when you have questions and stuff like that. It's like, hey, what are you doing over here that's similar to what I am doing? Am I
100%.
right?
100%.
Doing it wrong? Do I need to change path? And the goal of Fathernetics, and I think any awesome friend, is never to change someone's mind. It's really just to provide information so that you can make your own decision,
100%.
right for you or not, because we're all different parents. We all see different things. We have different experiences. All of our dads are different, that have instilled things in us that are different. There are some adults out there that have had extremely negative experiences with their parents, with their dads, right? They don't want to
Right,
bring that in to their
right.
own day as adults. And some of them, have trauma that they're dealing with. And it's an intentional activity to not pass that on to their kids. Obviously, we see in the news where that's not the narrative. There are people out there that are unable to change course and bring that into their kids' existence, and perhaps that's how they end up in foster care to begin with. But I think that community building, having these
So
stories
important.
available for people to say, oh, you know what? I heard Nader say community is important as a straight father. It's the same for me as a gay father. There is no
Right,
difference. It's the
right. No difference.
right? It's the same parenting when you have the same. Everybody deserves love. Everybody deserves to be loved. And we shouldn't be out here cutting people out just because we have certain opinions about it.
What is community at the end of the day? It's a group of people, right? Whether you're gay, straight, black, white, blue, red, tall, short, it's a community of people. And obviously they're going to be sort of, we want to be around people that are like-minded, that are trying to raise their children the right way. And so, yeah, your community is kind of like the bedrock of your children. I mean, I remember growing up, we had a wonderful community around us, both in our neighborhood with you and your family, but also, around the city. And it was just like, I don't know what I would have done without that community. And so that's what I'm trying to build for our children. Like, I'm trying to connect with as many people as possible who have children around the same age, and we form our own community. They essentially become your family. Your community is your family. Those are your children's aunts and uncles. Those are your brothers and sisters. Those are the people, that's why they say it always takes a village. That's the village that's going to raise your children. People think it's only the mom and dad that raise the kids. No, the mom and dad are the primary child raisers, but there's a whole community, there's a whole village that goes into raising children. And it's like, you want to surround yourself with the best people, the best kind of people to help raise your children. And I think it's advantageous when you're trying to raise the best kids you can.
And to that point, when we're talking about community, because I try to expand people's minds about community as well. Yeah, it's not like going to a community center and there's that those five people that you always talk to. A community oftentimes are people that you don't directly choose, right? Your student's teacher is part of that child's community because
Right,
that
right.
teacher is in that child's life every day. So there is value in being active in your child's life. Even like the babysitter is part of the community. The playground that you go to is part of the. Are they, you know, doing things that are positive and supportive of who you are and what you're trying to reflect? Or do they have signs up that says, these people are not allowed or those people are excluded? Or is the teacher talking about, things that they shouldn't be, right? Have your own opinions if you want, but please make sure that you're being very careful about what you are saying to anyone's child about anything, right? Make sure you're being very level headed. Babysitters, people on the playground that, you're at with your kids, the people on the bus, all of these
Neighbors.
things require attention from parents. We never want to give people power and say, raise my kids. I think that's the number one things that teachers will tell you. We're not here to raise your kids. That is you as a parent's job. We're here to educate your kid. We're not here to raise your kid. And I
Right,
think that
right.
is very important to understand.
I think you hit the nail on the head. It's like the teachers are part of the community, your neighbors are part of the community, the playground is part of the community, but you are number one in those children's lives. I mean, by and large, the people that they become is because of the kind of parents that you are, the kind of father that you are. And but again, you have to be vigilant with the kind of people they grow up around. And so, it's funny. You, we spend more time, say, we spend as much time at school or at work as we do at home. So it's like, yeah, my kids are going to grow up in school just as much as they're going to grow up at home 5 days a week for 7 to 8 hours they're in school and the other 7 to 8 hours they're at home and the other 7 to 8 hours they're asleep. So it's like, yeah, you want the right schools, the right students, the right teachers teaching your children because they're going to spend as much time there as they're going to do at home, awake. So it's a delicate balance. But I always say this, if such and so could do it, if my parents could do it, if those people could do it, guess what? I can do it too. You just got to put in the work.
Absolutely. And I think now in the age of technology, in the age of access to everything at our fingertips, we just have the opportunity to plug into to resources a little bit easier if it's available, right? And through this podcast, I'm hoping that it reaches and is available for people who just have random questions. I mean, they may just listen to one episode and go, wow, that made all the difference in me deciding or finalizing whether I should have kids or not, or in me understanding why I am the person that I am because of my father. Not that they want to have kids. They may not want to have kids. Who knows? That's fine. But are you who you are today by choice, or some of the things that you don't like about yourself because of something that happened with your father?
Jamil, I feel like this podcast isn't just a podcast and it's not just a conversation with people about fathers. It's a community service. You
Absolutely.
are, you are providing, none of this is scripted. We're just having a conversation, but it's providing kind of context and service to people who are thinking about becoming parents, thinking about becoming fathers, or who are already fathers and just need some help and some advice. Every dad, even the best dad need all the guidance and assistance in the world. And it's like, yeah, I fully support it. Seriously, it's not just. There's a lot of podcasts out there that are just pure entertainment. This is not one of those things. This is something that could help people.
Well, I do want to entertain as well, so I throw in some jokes every now and again. You know, it's dad jokes at this point, and
Oh my
that's
God.
so funny for me
They're
because
becoming
now
more and more common. They're becoming more and more common in my house.
you are a dad, so now every
That's
joke
right.
is a dad joke.
That's right.
I take it tongue in cheek because I don't see myself as being old Um, I
It's
still
coming, brother.
no,
It's
but
coming.
I feel like I'm still in like my early 30s. I just have a kid, I have an amazing husband. I have, extended family, which are awesome. I have, fantastic friends. And, I've already been over the hump of dealing with all, the quote unquote BS of life. I'm sure there's a little here and there as life will always throw something new at you, but being in a good spot and being able to say we have an opportunity to raise our kid um, in a way that is meaningful to us, right? Growing up, our parents did a really good job of bringing us to the United States quite often before we actually moved to Houston permanently. So we always had a fantastical view of the United States, and it was one of the places that we traveled to often. Now, with Jacob, over the course of the last 4 years, we've been able to do so much traveling that I've always wanted to do as a child, right? Going to Europe and going to the Virgin Islands, going to Central America, and it's for me, it is like 10,000 times better to have done this through Jacob's eyes and be able to
Right.
experience it with him and my husband than me doing it on my own. Not to take away from those who are single and traveling the world. It's
Sure.
just an add-on experience when you have a child that you get to expose to that kind of stuff.
Yeah, oh, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's like because you're doing that, your son's exposed to all different cultures
Mm-hmm.
and different kinds of people. And so by the time he's 18, 20 years old, he'll be quite a cultured, worldly young man. And in today's day and age where we're more connected than we ever have been before, that is a valuable, I don't know, I don't want to call it skill, but knowledge or wisdom to have. And so, yeah, that's something I want to do with my kids, expose them to as many different cultures and peoples and lifestyles, ways of life as I can, so that they're best equipped to handle that when they get older and I'm not around.
Yeah. And I tell people all the time, if you live in the United States and you've never left the United States, try your best to do that. Not everybody is in a position to be able to do that. I get it. But if you have the opportunity, go visit a different country. Go see how other people live. Go see what people think of America. Go see, what is most important to the people in the UK versus South Africa versus China. They live very differently and their values are differently. Not to say that your values are incorrect, but just knowing that when you come across someone like this in the United States and they're talking to you about something, you can say, okay, I understand why that is because I saw that or I was exposed to that. And it just provides such a more well-rounded. It does it for me as an adult. It's not just Jacob.
Yes,
It does it for me as an adult to be
yes,
able to engage with other parents. Now that I'm talking to people all over the world, I mean, you're in Australia. I talk to people in the UK all the time now, Canada, obviously here in the United States. It's easier to talk to those individuals knowing that I'm open-minded to hearing what their plight is. What is adoption like in Canada? Tell me, as opposed to let me tell you what adoption is in Canada. I don't know
right.
nothing about it. So what am I like? Please tell me, educate me.
I think you nailed it. Well-rounded. You want to raise well-rounded children, and one of the best ways to do that is to expose them to as many different kinds of peoples, cultures, countries as you can. So, I applaud you for doing that, and that's something that I hope to do with my children as they grow up as well.
So what's a good piece of advice that you would give someone who is thinking about becoming a parent and isn't quite sure that they themselves would make a good parent?
No matter how well prepared you are for parenthood, you don't know what you're doing, and that's perfectly okay because none of us know what we're doing either. We're to learn, there's this line, I love it. It it's man plans and God laughs. It's this idea that you can plan as much as you want for parenthood, but it's gonna be thrown up in your face, and you won't know what to expect, and that's okay. We're all going through it. You're not the only person. For me, it, difficulty is okay, but loneliness is the worst. And if I feel like I'm the only one that's going through these problems, these issues, then I would feel, I'd be pretty down about it. But when I talk to people, you talk to friends, you talk to other dads, moms, whomever, and you realize, oh, their kids have the same thing. They're going through the same issues. They've got the same questions. It's like, okay, we're all, I don't want to say suffering, but we're all going through problems together. And so no matter how well prepared you are, no matter how much you think you've planned, you haven't planned enough, and that's all right.
But isn't that the exciting part about life, right?
Yeah,
We don't want the problems that put us in the poorhouse. But I think
of course.
the ability to be flexible and dynamic in life is how we survive because you're correct. I can plan all day, and as soon as your child is born, they're like, "Yeah, I don't like that. We're going left. You want to go right? You
Yeah,
can go by yourself. I'm going left." And I think just the ability for a parent to say, "Okay, if we're going left, I love you regardless. Let's go left." Unless that is going against, the morality that you're trying to instill in your child, right? A lot of parents are broken when they have children that are now identifying as male or female, something that's opposite from whatever sex was provided to them at birth. So it's like, okay, instead of breaking down, how about we learn a little bit about what this means before you throw the baby out with the bathwater? I mean, because if
right.
you're saying it's unconditional love, why are we applying conditions all of a sudden? You know, so it's really about understanding who you are as a person to then be able to bring your best parenthood forward.
100%. And that's really important. I feel like, okay, you want to prepare for fatherhood? Okay. For me, the best way to prepare for fatherhood is to know yourself as
Mhm.
much as you can because you don't want to be figuring out who you are while you're trying to be a parent and trying to figure out who your child is. You're busy enough trying to raise this new human being that can't do anything, that's trying to figure out life, and you're trying to teach it. Know yourself first. Know yourself as much as possible before you do that, because parenthood is, while I've always said this, fatherhood is the best job I've ever had. Being a dad is the best job I've ever had, and it's the best job I'll ever have. But it's also the hardest job. It's the most challenging job. But because we love our children unconditionally, it's worth it.
All right, so last thing here, give me your best dad joke.
Oh my God.
You
Oh,
on the
you
spot.
got
There's
me.
so many to choose from.
No. It's like I'm trying to think. I think my dad jokes are gonna come out more when they get older because she's 3. She won't understand any dad jokes.
Listen,
Um,
if I talk to your wife, she's gonna probably go, "You tell dad jokes like every 2 hours." But here, okay, so here's a dad joke from me, and it's really silly, but
I got one. Yeah,
I
yeah,
have a
yeah.
nephew as well, and he's like 6, 7, and every time I tell this joke, he rolls his eyes at me now. So he's like, "Oh, I'm hungry," and I'm like, "Oh, hi, hungry. I'm Jamil," and
Yes, yes.
it's so cheeseball, but it's like that's what I'm here for.
Here you go. We're at a restaurant. Our plates are clean, and the waiter comes and says, "Did you enjoy your meal?" And I'll look at the waiter and say, "Can't you tell? I hated it." Ha 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 ha. Because the plate is clean. Ha, 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 dad joke. It's like, oh
So wait,
man.
so who laughs at that joke? The waiter.
Definitely me.
So the
100% me.
waiter laughs like, please tip me. Well, I don't know if tips are a thing in Australia, but
No, they don't do tips here because waiters here get paid a living wage.
uh-oh,
There you go.
controversial.
I'm just being real. Honesty. They do. They don't tip here. So
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, listen, Nader, I've taken up too much of your time. I appreciate this. As you know, we've known each other for years and will continue to do so. We grew up together, and
that's
you have a brother that I love and adore as well, and he has kids too. So hopefully one day he'll be on the podcast. But I just know that you're going to continue to be an amazing father, and the insights that you've provided
kiddo.
someone is going to pick up on it, and it's just going to resonate. And if it does that for one person, then this podcast has been 100% successful. So